Okay, in this video, instead of using the router as the DHCP server, we're actually going to have a separate server to act as DHCP server. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a router and put it here, right? I got my PC here, and then I'll have a server, a generic server, over here. Now I'm going to set this server up. I'm going to click on the server and configure it. So on the server, I'm going to set it up statically. I'm going to give it an IP address 192.168.5.5. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to make the gateway, all right, 5.1. And that's it. So 5.5 and 5.1 is going to be the gateway, and so he's set up. Then I'm going to go to his services that the server offers, and I'll click on DHCP, and you can see that it's already been configured as a default. So I need to change it. So I'm going to highlight this here and change that to 1.100. If I highlight it, see if that changes here. All right, save. See, that can change it. So then I can put in the default gateway. So 1.1 will be the gateway that you're going to hand out, and 8.8.4.4, let's say, will be the DNS server that you're going to hand out. Save. And the first address will be 192.168.1.100, and you're going to hand out 50 addresses, kind of like a wireless router at home. Right, and hit save. And so server pool is now configured, right? And you can turn it on now. All right. So now this router, I'm going to put his IP address right here, 192.168.5.5. He's configured, ready to go, right? So now all we got to do is connect to him and get everybody else configured up. This PC is going to, I'm going to release, so he has nothing. He's going to be set to DHCP. Right now I'll put him to static, and then at the right moment we'll change him to DHCP. Okay, we got to configure the router, and we got to put in our connections. So from this PC to the router, we're going to need some crossover cables. So we'll go to fast Ethernet to 00, and over here from the server's Ethernet to fast Ethernet 01. All right, so there you have that. Now we click on the router and we configure the router. So just basically, I'm going to type enable to get to the global config mode. I'm going to type conf t. Now I'm in global config mode, and we're going to set up interface FA0/0, and we're going to give it an IP address. Whoops, space 192.168.1.1. Right. No shut for no shutdown. Okay. Then I'm going to configure interface FA01, right? And that IP address is going to need to be 5.1. Okay, and no shut. All right, so that's up. So now our interfaces on our router are up. Right over here, the router is 192.168.5.1. Okay, right here on this interface, it's 5.1, and the server's 5.5. And then over here on this interface, he's 192.168.1.1, right? It's 192.168.1.1 over here, and the PC is going to be DHCP client trying to receive an IP address from the DHCP server over here, right? So what we want is we want the router to relay DHCP server discovery packets from the client to the server, and then the server can send a DHCP offer through the router to the client. And to do that, all you have to do is you have to set up IP helper address on the router. So you go to the router, you go to the interface that you're going to want handed out on. So we're going to hand out addresses on this interface. So I'm going to intfa 0/0. So I make sure that I'm in the 00 interface, and then I say IP helper dash address, okay, 2 Ds, IP helper dash address, and then give it the address 192.168.5.5, and that's going to be the helper address. Hit enter, no shut. Alright, and so now the router has a helper address right here, and now the client should be able to get an IP address. So go to the client, and we'll go to IP configuration, set up DHCP. The request goes out, and the router should allow the request to go through, and it failed. Let's take a look at our router. And we'll do a Control-C. Show run, show our running configuration. IP helper address right here is 5.5, right? Right, IP address 5.1. Right, so everything looks pretty good. So in looking at why this isn't working, let's take a look at our server. And our server, let's see if our server can communicate. Our server is static gateway set to 5.1, that's good, right? And its IP address is 5.5, and its gateway is 5.1, so that's good. Make sure that it can ping. Okay, can ping the router, right? So, and then we have to make sure that the server has its DHCP services on. DHCP is on. 1.1 is handing out, 1.100. Alright, that looks good. Looks like we'll turn it off. Maybe we'll turn it back on again. Alright, and so now it should be going through. So let's give it another shot. We go to our client, IP configuration, and you can see now that it is working. It just took some time. Go static into DHCP, and there's the request. It's successful.